Gunslingers, gamblers, horse thieves, and cattle rustlers are an enduring part of the Old West. Some became celebrities in their own, often brief lives. Others faded into the dust of unmarked graves in Boot Hill. One such desperado was Caleb Earl Bateman, who wanted more than anything to be a household name like his hero, William H. Bonney, known to all as Billy the Kid.
Even though William Bonney, better known as Billy the Kid, had been dead for over a decade, it's entirely credible that Caleb Bateman was obsessed with walking in the young outlaw's footsteps. You see, Billy was a celebrity before Pat Garrett shot him in 1881, and his myth only grew after he was dead because the public simply couldn't get enough news, real or fabricated, about the likable young man barely out of his teens. Like so many other rebels in post-Civil War America, William Bonney became like a Robin Hood in the minds of many people, a loyal hand avenging the death of his murdered boss, a poor, misunderstood young man whose life was cut short. In other words, a hero.
Caleb Earl Bateman was born in Clay County, Missouri on September 10th, 1847. His father, Joshua Robert Bateman, left home when Caleb was 5. His mother, Alice, did her best raising Caleb, but she herself was quoted as saying, "That boy had the devil in him." The approach of the American Civil War shaped the life of Caleb Earl. At the age of 14, he joined the Confederate forces and learned the ways of Johnny Reb guerrilla tactics, stealing and bushwhacking to survive. Caleb killed his first man when he was just 15 years old.
Caleb Bateman became Billy the Kid, and just like Billy, he eventually crossed the wrong man.
You turn tail and run now, we lost the better part of a year.
You benefit, Bateman. The moment those cattle arrived on reservation, you couldn't trace hide nor hair of them back to you. My Sioux got fed, and you walked away with top dollar.
10, 15 head at a time ain't hardly worth my trouble. My men deserve a payday. I mean, they sure ain't gonna endure another winter at an abandoned relay station.
And I'm telling you, we quit while we can. Ned.
Well, recently the sheriff has been snooping around, talking to my mother and the rest of the men. He's on to something.
On to what? You ain't never been with him. You just tell us when the time's right. Now, McKenna ain't no closer to figuring out how we operate than he was 6 months ago.
I'm telling you, he is on to something. And what's worth, old Si's got men in the saddle all day and half the goddamn night.
I'm out, Bateman.
I will tell you both when you are out. Now you listen. And you listen good. I'm gonna drive 100 head of Cyrus McCall's cattle up to Pine Ridge Reservation in 2 days. I'm gonna go through McCall's fence and I'm gonna go across your land, Ned Carter. And there better be $3,000 waiting for me when I get there. You ain't never gonna see me again. Run them through.
Found him, Paul.
Not 20 miles from here, near the old relay station.
I was just up on the wagon trail yesterday. Nary a sign.
Now, they didn't use the trail. They took them north through Creek Run, circled back, and brought them around through the East Draw, near the reservation. Would have never found them if it wasn't for a stray they missed. We got them this time.
You get the men, you stay with your ma just in case.
Ain't likely, Paul.
In 1864, Cyrus and Rachel McCall, their 10-year-old son, and a few loyal hands drove 300 head of cattle from West Texas to settle in the newly formed Montana Territory. They endured frigid winters, angry miners, and hostile Indians to build a thriving cattle empire known as the Big Sky Ranch. Now, Cyrus McCall didn't get where he was by avoiding a fight, and he wasn't about to this time.
You get right behind that door, all right? And you shoot the first thing that isn't me.
Caleb Bateman had assembled a gang of thieves and killers who followed his orders without question. Among them was Silas Dobson, who was wanted in just about every state and territory west of the Mississippi, and Lempo Breen, who had been a Crow captive for over 10 years. And when a cavalry raid returned him to white society, he found its rules and restrictions intolerable. With Bateman, Breen found a way to act out his hatred for his own kind.
Caleb Bateman had become the most successful rustler in western Montana, with a ready market for stolen beef, which would bring maybe $15 a head, about half of a legal sale, and with not nearly enough cowhands to cover all the territory available. It was relatively easy to swoop in, grab up a few beeves, and be gone before a vulnerable rancher even knew what hit him. And maybe 50 or so head of cattle would bring a tidy sum to Bateman and his men, certainly enough to keep them in whiskey and women between raids. 50 head, however, to a cattleman could be disastrous. So really, it was just a matter of time until Bateman stole from the wrong man.
The West could be perilous for women. Pop culture, and I think film in particular, often shows women being taken captive by Indians or being forced into brothels in these cattle and mining boomtowns. But less well known is that they also often fell victim to gangs of outlaws, especially if the outlaws had a hideout that served as a base of operations. Women were needed for their domestic labor. Native American women who were captured by warring tribes, they might find themselves sold to outlaws or bartered for whiskey and weapons, or simply sold by their families. White women who lived on these isolated ranches, if their husbands were away from the house, they might very well find themselves kidnapped by the outlaws and taken into servitude. However they arrived into this captivity, their lives were really pretty grim. It was servitude and physical abuse.
As Cyrus and his men neared the abandoned relay station, they found no sign of the gang. In fact, there was no sign that anyone had been anywhere near Osage Station for years. Young Cyrus knew that a few hours ago he had found his cattle in a draw east of the station, but he had no idea what he and his father were up against. They were about to find out. This was far from the first time Cyrus McCall suffered wounds in an ambush, but an arrow this close to his spine was truly dangerous. Young Si knew they had to make quick work of the rustlers, or he might lose his father.
Now, this here's a white woman. Now, no none of y'all want to see her dead.
He was convinced that, like Billy, he could avoid capture by simply being bold and clever enough to make his pursuers hold fire.
Bateman tried to dress like him. He tried to create the same fearsome reputation as Billy the Kid. What I find really curious, though, is that patterning didn't carry over into his treatment of women. Billy the Kid could be quite charming with women. He enjoyed the company of women, and he could be very warm and generous with women. But Bateman was a cruel and abusive man by all accounts. In fact, Sarah Allen, when she wrote about her experiences years later, said he was just plain mean.
You get that big black you rode in on and bring him up here, now!
He knew that Sarah Allen would shield him, and if he could somehow get his hands on the lean black horse belonging to one of McCall's men, no one have a chance to catch him before he sought refuge in the mountains he knew so well. Little did he know that a dead man would be his undoing. Suffering a wound that would have killed most men, Cyrus McCall proved to be the last thing Caleb Bateman ever saw.
Foulest concoction and brewed by man.
It'll help you rest.
And Elma couldn't get away with it. She was addicted.
You beat me with a stick before I take her on. Get whiskey. Give me whiskey.
Cyrus McCall, you're the luckiest man I've ever carved on. If you were human, we'd all be just about over your sudden demise by now.
You'll just have to postpone your burial celebration.
You better heed my words. You may be clear-headed and feeling a little cocky, but don't presume to try and leave this bed or the care of this lovely woman any time too soon. We still don't know how much damage has been done.
My Aunt Elma never got out of bed. In fact, Uncle Seth buried her, the bed, and 2 unopened bottles of laudanum.
Doc, I know your game. You're torturing me to kick the bucket so you can run off with Rachel. I ain't blind, you know.
Cyrus.
Now mark my words, if you try leaving this bed, Rachel may have the opportunity to reconsider.
Cyrus recovered and lived for another 10 years, gradually turning his Big Sky Ranch over to his son. That day, all but one of Bateman's men died. And that man explained exactly how Bateman had avoided capture for so long.
I feel a train coming for my soul. I'm not sure which way I'll go. I can't look the other way. I can't stand around and say nothing can be done. Sometimes a good man needs a gun. By and by, by and by, justice will be done. By and by, Judgment Day will come. There'll be nowhere to run. We're all gonna face the sun. By and by, I feel blood running down my vest. I'm gonna pass if I don't rest. Mama prayed that I'll hold on until this day is gone. My job is done. 'Cause today someone pulled a gun. By and by, by and by, justice will be done. By and by, Judgment Day will come. There'll be nowhere to run. We're all gonna face the sun. By and by. Justice will be done by and by. Judgment Day will come. There'll be nowhere to run. We're all gonna face the sun by and by. Judgment Day will come. There'll be nowhere to run. We're all gonna face the sun by and by.